Alright. Hello and welcome to Bigskybits. I'm your host Colby, and today we're going over what's going on with Bitcoin. And first thing, if you like the content, please head on over to the website where you can see a lot of the episodes. There's some newsletters and other content available and more to come. And with that, we will be going right into... where was it? The IMF has changed their stance rather drastically on how they're going to approach Bitcoin. The International Monetary Fund often was known for giving loans out to other countries to aid in development, or so they said, of certain projects. But what often happened is the IMF would fund a project knowing a country couldn't fully pay the project, and the IMF would then claim property or claim assets within that country as part of their debt. And we've really seen the IMF be a tool for doing some sketchy kind of imperialistic things. I mean, you can be on whatever side you want of it, but the IMF doesn't have always the best track record. I mean, recently it was pretty clear how they were bullying the country as El Salvador over their Bitcoin purchases. And we've seen a lot of change coming to how the IMF is going to deal with that. And with that, we've seen a change kind of on the international scale. Rather than the U.S., and maybe the U.S. kind of did lead the charge after some of these smaller countries, but for the larger countries, the U.S. changing their stance in regard to Bitcoin has really led some of these international institutions to kind of reevaluate how they're going to perceive Bitcoin. And we can see some of this coming through in the price. Since we last spoke, and it was a while ago, Bitcoin has been on a steady little rise up. We're about 87,000. We were about 88 just a little bit ago. So Bitcoin's shown some resilience to bounce back. I do not believe we are out of any danger zone. We'd still have to get well above this 93, hopefully. I mean, yeah, we're going to need a lot of love to get back in, but the short-term graph is looking promising. I mean, when you look at this on a widened out scale, it is looking promising. We still have quite a bit of support. Above 93, 95 really would start to look promising. So we'll have to kind of wait out and see. Bitcoin's dominance is retaining its hold despite all the new altcoins being added every day. Thousands upon thousands of meme coins. Thousands upon thousands of scammy garbage things are added every day. So be wary. Watch what you're doing. Monitor your stack. And when we really go deeper into the price analysis, we'll look at Bitcoin versus Ethereum. And Ethereum's really struggling. I made this comment a bit ago. To get above the 0.023 level. And we can see this if we put it against Bitcoin and move out. It has really struggled recently to stay above this line. Now, it's been a steady downtrend, but if we look at the long term, it just looks decimating over multiple years, 3-4 years of just steady downcline. And that should give a lot of people some pause for thought. I like a lot of what Ethereum introduced and some of the projects they wanted to bring to fruition and some of the thought, but the project was inherently flawed because of some of its centralized aspects. I don't believe the Ethereum community was one born out of necessity. And I say that because Bitcoin was born for many people out of necessity, trying to escape some of the regulation, where a lot of these other projects have been created for for technical reasons, perhaps, to see what could be done, to see how they could change Bitcoin, and many for just nefarious reasons in attempts to get their creators rich. And we look at the wealth that many of these creators like Vitalik Buterin have acquired from these tokens, and I don't know. It gives me pause, because I don't believe they're actually trying to help humanity. Now, some of the projects have good intentions, and some of the projects bring to light possible things that can be done within the ecosystem. But looking at this graph, it just does not look all that promising. Now, some of the other coins do look more promising. I know XRP this run around has been one of the crowd favorites. And the graph, well, when you zoom out, it doesn't look wonderful. This recent action doesn't look horrible at all. So take that with a grain of salt, but also realize how long XRP's been around, the promises they've made, how their token distribution is, and you'll quickly realize that it has some fundamental issues that it would have to overcome to be a useful asset, in my opinion. But do your own research, look at it as you will. But as we go further down the list, you're just seeing a lot of these shitcoins really struggling to go anywhere. And the further back you go on their graph, I mean, here was one of the original. Litecoin just created basically a fork or a copy of Bitcoin where they 4-maxed the supply, lengthen the confirmation time, but you can see without the actual security of the network, this coin's struggling to maintain a value, and that's because people don't really use it. Now, on the use case of Bitcoin, we're seeing more and more institutions adopt it. We're starting to see nation states use it, and even use it for trade between each other. There were reports that Russia and China were using it for oil exchanges and international trade. So we'll see if these reports are true and to what degree this is actually occurring, if these were just tests. But it's interesting regardless. Moving on away from price, because I do believe we still need a while to see where Bitcoin's at. If we keep seeing growth like we have the last 2 days and we can get above that 93,000, that would look great. But moving on from that, we will go over, and there's a nice little video, a tutorial from BTC Sessions, who does great jobs on explaining a lot of the wallets. And in this one, talking about how multi-sig works. And multi-sig is an important aspect of the Bitcoin community that I think you should explore. And it allows you to divide your Bitcoin address up in such a way that to access the funds, you're going to need 2 of 3 signatures or 2 of 2. You can create, or 3 of 5. You can create different scenarios that best work with your use case. So let's say you're a company that have a board of directors that should have access to this, or different people, so you have some sort of security. You know who holds those addresses. It allows for you to hold your money in a unique new way and do some prospects with money that traditional finance didn't really offer. So I think it's a good video. I think people should look at it, and it's an important aspect of Bitcoin. So as you go further down the rabbit hole, you'll see different things like time locks, multi-sig, tons of different ways. There's pools where people put their money in, like a Whirlpool or a Tornado Cash. And even on the Tornado Cash, I had recently heard that the government is dropping sanctions against it, but 2 of the creators are still in jail. So it's an interesting aspect, but the ability to pool your money and get funds out to kind of obfuscate how those funds came to be, I think is a useful privacy tool. Now, some people say it's only going to be used for illicit means. It's not our job to police the avenue in which you spend. We should be actually going after the bad guys. If you're worried about someone selling guns, Go after the guy selling guns, not a wallet that kind of hides that transaction, because people want privacy for many numbers of reasons. You could have a government that is actively working against you and acting in an authoritarian manner, and access to privacy, especially when it concerns your money, could be very important. I think people just need to think outside of their little bubble or square. Sure, you might be comfortable today, but is that always going to be the case? What are the other scenarios in which these tools and the way they can operate may help you? So it's good food for thought. I encourage you to go look more into some of these tools, and feel free to ask any questions. I'd be happy to answer them. On that note, if you like the content, please like, subscribe, head over to YouTube or Rumble, and you can see some of the content there. Moving on, we also noticed that the meme pool, the blocks are starting to slow back down, but if we just travel just a couple hours back, there was definitely some higher transaction activity today, with many of the blocks hitting 7, 8. I mean, we're still averaging. We got a lot of 3s and even some 2s recently. So it's coming back down, but during today's rush, we definitely saw a lot more on-chain activity. And I think a lot of this is hinting at that people are kind of gearing up for another move in Bitcoin. Now, whether this is all a fake out, a bull trap, and we're going to head further down, or whether we're going to start skyrocketing up, it's very hard to tell. In the short term, it looks kind of positive. When you zoom out, we still got some major levels that we haven't cleared. And that goes for trading, and that's why I really don't encourage people to day trade. It's very hard. You're most likely going to lose money in fees, spread. I think you're better to look into the technology, looking to companies that are building around this technology. And those are probably the best ways that you can get yourself involved. This is an asset that, sure, it will appreciate in our lifetime, but that is not the goal of Bitcoin. It's not meant to be some investment that you sit back and collect dividends on or some kind of yield. Bitcoin is meant to replace our messed up monetary system. And I believe we are seeing that come to fruition. So with that, I'm going to go out and get some other jobs done. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe, and have a wonderful day. Oh, we should turn this on real quick.